Yeah, it's not uncommon to say that every 72 hours there is some significant update that challenges what's happened in the last 3 to 6 months. So it is just moving at an incredible pace, and it's very, very difficult to stay up with it.
So is this a kind of a modern version of is it Moore's Law? Or Moore's Law is the one about the transistor power doubling every 18 months or 3 years. That it's now that on steroids, that we actually just can't project what this is going to be able to do.
So those laws are over, right? So the rate of pass of change, particularly across the knowledge articles, are completely over the top. Stanford released a report last year, and it showed the dexterity of human ability versus AI. And for the most part, AI was actually on a par. When that happens, organisation structures dramatically start to change and job descriptions start to change because AI can actually replicate what humans can actually do. And that's going to start to trickle through to the workforce very, very quickly. So you're going to have the content creation that you can create. You can create incredible things, credible videos, credible images, and there's so much opportunity to do that. But more and more, we need a watermark to actually decipher what's real and what's not. And this is going to become a real challenge, particularly when the world of kind of deep fakes. For me, the only defence that we have is literacy, because the EU AI Act and regulation that's there isn't fit for purpose because it's clear as mud when it comes to actually businesses starting to use it. And no regulations are going to be able to actually keep up. So with literacy, people will be able to actually understand the rules of the road. We need to meet people where they're at, depending on their job. And I always give the example of my mum, 65-year-old, she's a tour guide. She uses ChatGPT to help her create her itinerary for her tours. She uses Canva as a brochure, and she's be able to use a tool like Lovable to create a website. She's not literally a PhD in AI, but she uses that to go to the next step. My brother, he's an electrician. He used speech to invoice. That usually takes 20 minutes to create a quote. Within 2 minutes, he sent the invoice, and he's back to doing his job. Now, if we bring relevant use cases to the people across this country, they're going to be empowered, they're going to use it, and they're going to use it in the right way. But if we try to teach them in a way that all the mechanisms of how AI is, the PhD all around that, they're not necessarily going to learn. So for me, there's less slop if we teach them how to use it correctly and the right ways to use it.
A lot of those mundanities, for better or worse, are things that people make a living out of. And it's petrifying to think that so many of those jobs could be made redundant almost instantly.
Yeah, I always think about a quote from Ernest Hemingway when he talks about when he went broke. And they asked how it happened, and he said, slowly and then suddenly, right? And what we're actually seeing is when people are actually leaving their jobs through natural attrition, that could be 25 to 30% of a workforce. More and more, they're not being replaced. So you've got an augmentation where AI is actually taking over and it's supporting the existing team. Now, if you compound it over 2 or 3 years, that actually starts to make an impact into the workforce. What we're seeing more and more is for graduates, very, very difficult to get a job because AI is actually doing a large amount of what they would be actually doing. And that is a challenge.
An entry-level
position, graduate lawyer, a software programmer. So it's becoming very, very difficult to do that. And then when you're actually looking to say, oh, do I hire another person? The first question is can we actually have AI to do that position? And can you justify in that job description that we can't do that? And employers aren't out there saying we want to remove people from the workforce, but they are under pressure to do more with less. Customer experience is very, very important. And the cost of actually hiring people is a detriment for a lot of businesses. So they have to actually reimagine what they do and how they do it. But if there isn't an upskilling plan put in place, particularly for graduates coming in, they're going to find it very, very challenging to get work. And that's going to become a real issue for our society.